1977 Northern Thailand. A drug boss offers America a deal. Buy my opium, or I poison your cities. His name is Khun Sa, and he proves it. Within a decade, 80% of New York's heroin traces back to his laboratories. Emergency rooms from coast to coast overflow with his product. The worst part? CIA-backed soldiers taught him guerrilla warfare as a teenager. Now he's turned their own tactics into a weapon against them. The government throws everything. Kill squads, helicopter gunships, federal indictments, $2 million bounty. He survives it all, escapes to a country that tells Washington to go to hell. October 2007, he dies at 73. Mansion in Rangoon, millions in the bank, 0 days in American custody. How did one man humiliate a superpower for 3 decades? And why was he impossible to destroy? 1950, Burma's Shan State. A 16-year-old orphan named Jiang Shifu watches foreign soldiers train in the mountains of Burma's Shan State. These are Kuomintang remnants. Chinese nationalists pushed into the Golden Triangle after Mao's communists took China. The CIA funds them secretly, hoping they'll harass Beijing from the south. They teach jungle warfare, weapons handling, ambush tactics. Zhang absorbs every lesson. He doesn't know it yet, but American intelligence is training the man who will one day poison American streets. By his early 20s, Jiang runs his own militia. He starts small, extorting opium farmers in remote Shan villages, beyond the reach of police and forgotten by government. But Jiang sees further than petty extortion. He studies the drug trade like a businessman studies markets. Poppy fields feed refineries. Refineries feed smuggling routes, control the chain, own the fortune. His opportunity arrives in 1963. The Burmese military fighters against communist insurgents threatening the Chinese border. Jiang volunteers his militia. In exchange, the government grants him immunity to traffic opium under official protection. Within 2 years, his men carry better weapons than the Burmese army. He buys rifles, machine guns, and mortars on the black market. The regional warlord now dreams of empire. Spring 1967. Jiang launches his bid for the throne. 500 soldiers, 300 mules, 16 tons of raw opium. He marches this caravan straight into Kuomintang territory, challenging the forces who trained him. Near the Laotian border, everything collapses. The Kuomintang ambush from one direction. Laotian troops attack from another, hoping to seize the shipment. Then Laotian bombers arrive. When the smoke clears, Jiang's convoy is destroyed, his men scattered or dead. For 2 years, he rebuilds quietly. His enemies assume the threat has passed. The Burmese government watches him closer now, suspicious of his ambition. When intelligence reports suggest Jiang has been meeting with Shan rebel groups, enemies of the state, they decide the drug boss has become more dangerous than useful. October 1969, Jiang steps off a plane at Heiho Airport expecting a routine trip. Security forces surround him before he reaches the terminal. Treason. The charge carries a death sentence. They drag him to Mandalay prison and throw him into a concrete cell. The jungle prince will die in darkness, forgotten by a world that never knew his name. At least that's what the Burmese government believes. They don't know his most loyal men are already planning something that will humiliate them on the world stage. And they don't know what 5 years of isolation will do to a man with nothing left but revenge and a copy of Sun Tzu. 1973, Tongyi, Burma. 2 Soviet doctors finish their shift at the local hospital, part of a Cold War aid program between Moscow and Rangoon. They step outside into the evening air. A van pulls up. Armed men drag them inside. The vehicle disappears into the highlands before anyone realizes what happened. The ransom demand reaches Burmese officials the next morning. Release the warlord Jiang Shifu from Mandalay prison. Nothing else. Just one man's freedom in exchange for 2 Soviet lives. For 4 years, Jiang has rotted in a concrete cell, forgotten by the outside world. But his most loyal followers never abandoned him. They scattered across the Shan Highlands, watching, waiting, planning. Now they've handed the Burmese government an impossible problem. Rangoon can refuse and let Soviet citizens die. triggering a diplomatic catastrophe with Moscow at the height of Cold War tensions. Or they can release a convicted traitor and suffer national humiliation. The generals choose survival over pride. In 1974, Zhang Qifu walks out of Mandalay prison a free man. 5 years in isolation have transformed him. He spent his sentence reading Sun Tzu, studying strategy, analyzing every mistake that landed him in chains. The drug boss who entered prison made emotional decisions, trusted the wrong people, moved too fast. The man who exits thinks 3 moves ahead, sees alliances as temporary arrangements, views loyalty as a tool, not a virtue. He crosses into Thailand within weeks and begins rebuilding. But this time, he doesn't just want power, he wants legitimacy. He adopts a new name, Khun Sa, meaning Prince Prosperous in Shan. He declares himself a freedom fighter for Shan independence, a revolutionary battling Burmese oppression. The Shan people, neglected and brutalized by Rangoon for decades, embrace him as their champion. The transformation is masterful. He builds schools and clinics, constructs roads connecting isolated communities to markets. The Shan see a liberator investing in their future. They never notice the heroin refineries hidden deeper in the jungle. 1976, Ban Hin Taek, northern Thailand. Khun Sa establishes a fortified headquarters just miles from the Burmese border. Artillery positions ring the perimeter. Anti-aircraft missiles point skyward. 10,000 soldiers wear the uniform of his new Shan United Army. Thai generals tolerate his presence because he fights communist insurgents threatening their borders. The drug boss has found protectors on every side. But protection isn't enough. Khun Sa wants recognition. He wants the most powerful nation on earth to acknowledge his existence. 1977. He sends intermediaries to Washington with a proposal. Pay $100 million for my opium stockpile. Fund development programs for the Shan people. I'll exit the drug trade permanently. The message reaches congressional offices and intelligence agencies. Everyone understands what he's really saying. Pay me or suffer the consequences. The White House refuses. America doesn't negotiate with drug lords. Officials call it blackmail and promise to destroy him instead. Khun Sa expected this answer, wanted it even. Now he has justification for what comes next. If America won't buy his mercy, they'll buy his product, whether they like it or not. How do you turn jungle laboratories into an industrial empire? And what happens when you give a drug lord permission to unleash hell? 1980, Homong, Burma. Deep inside Shan State, beyond the reach of Thai authorities and American pressure, Khun Sa constructs something unprecedented, a functioning narco-state carved out of jungle. His headquarters transforms from a rebel camp into a small city. Paved roads, electricity generators, satellite dishes sprouting from rooftops. More than 10,000 people live under his direct rule. He forges alliances with rival Shan warlords, absorbing their militias into his expanding army. By 1985, the newly christened Mong Thai Army commands 18,000 regular soldiers, 5,000 trained reserves, and 8,000 village militia scattered across the highlands. Surface-to-air missiles protect his airspace. Artillery batteries guard every approach. His fighting force now rivals the standing armies of small nations. But soldiers alone don't build empires. Khun Sa invests his drug profits into infrastructure that the Burmese government never provided. Tax collectors organize commerce. A council of elders settles disputes. Within his territory, Khun Sa functions as president, general, and benefactor combined. The Shan people don't see a drug lord. They see the only leader who ever gave them anything. The real weapon, however, operates in hidden jungle clearings. Dozens of heroin laboratories run around the clock, refining raw opium into products so pure it stuns Western drug enforcement. 90% purity. Before Khun Sa, street heroin in American cities averaged 3 to 5% by the time it reached users. His product hits 20 times stronger, and he produces it at industrial scale. Tons flooding out of the Golden Triangle every month. The numbers tell the story in bodies. In the mid-1970s, Southeast Asian heroin barely registered in the American market, perhaps 5% of supply. By 1989, Golden Triangle product accounts for 80% of heroin on New York City streets. Khun Sa personally controls nearly half that flood. The DEA estimates 4 in 10 American overdoses trace back to his jungle laboratories. Emergency rooms overflow with his poison. Washington responds with force. In October, the DEA authorizes an assassination. 39 Thai Rangers and local guerrillas infiltrate his territory with orders to kill Khun Sa at any cost. His intelligence network detects them before they reach the perimeter. The ambush is swift and total. Nearly the entire unit dies in the jungle. Their bodies serve as a message. Thailand launches a full military assault. 1,000 soldiers backed by helicopter gunships and fighter jets descend on Ban Hin Take. 4 days of fierce combat. Buildings burn, ammunition, stockpiles explode, casualties mount on both sides. But when Thai forces finally breach the compound, Khun Sa is gone, vanished across the Burmese border hours before the final push. Within a year, he rebuilds at Homong, bigger, stronger, more fortified than before. Every attack only makes him more powerful. 1988. While Ronald Reagan declares war on drugs from the White House lawn, Khun Sa declares war right back. He invites international journalists to his headquarters and holds a press conference that shocks the world. Cameras rolling, the 54-year-old warlord stares into the lens and repeats his buyout offer. Then he taunts the DEA directly. Why not use a bandit to catch a bandit? He's advertising, daring the most powerful nation on earth to stop him. That same year, Thai police intercept one of his shipments in Bangkok. 5,000 pounds of pure heroin destined for New York. Street value in the hundreds of millions, enough doses to supply 500,000 addicts. Khun Sa doesn't flinch. Losing a shipment that size barely registers when you command half the world's supply. January 1990. A federal grand jury in Brooklyn indicts him on 10 counts of heroin trafficking. The U.S. government places a $2 million bounty on his head. The American ambassador to Thailand calls him the worst enemy the world has. Khun Sa responds by giving another interview. Calls American leaders hypocrites. Invites DEA agents to visit his headquarters personally. The most wanted drug trafficker on earth is hosting press conferences while American families bury their children. And nobody can touch him. What finally breaks a man who has survived assassins, armies, and indictments? And why does his ending make absolutely no sense? 1990. For 20 years, Khun Sa has outmaneuvered every enemy. He sits in Homong like a king on a jungle throne, untouchable and arrogant. But empires built on betrayal eventually face betrayal themselves. The first cracks appear from an unexpected direction. The Wa people, an ethnic group inhabiting the mountains north of Shan State, have watched Khun Sa's rise with growing resentment. For generations, the Wa and Shan have competed for territory, resources, and influence. Now the Wa see opportunity. Their militia approaches the Burmese military junta with a proposition: help us destroy Khun Sa and we'll take over the drug trade under your supervision. The generals in Rangoon listen carefully. Khun Sa has become an embarrassment. His press conferences mock their authority. His refusal to share profits insults their greed. They've tolerated him because destroying him seemed impossible. But with the Wea offering to do the dirty work, the calculation changes. 1991. The United Woiche State Army receives covert support from Burmese military intelligence. Weapons flow north. Training advisors arrive quietly. The Wea begin probing Khun Sa's territory, testing defenses, mapping weaknesses. Unlike American forces who fly in and fly out, the Wa intend to stay forever. They want his land, his laboratories, his smuggling routes. This enemy won't retreat after a firefight. They'll keep coming until someone controls everything. Simultaneously, the DEA launches Operation Tiger Trap, the most ambitious multinational drug sting ever attempted against a single target. American agents coordinate with Thai police, Hong Kong authorities, and intelligence services across Southeast Asia. Their strategy is elegant. Forget capturing Khun Sa himself. Dismantle the network that makes his empire function. The operation unfolds like surgery. First, they identify his brokers in Bangkok, the middlemen who connect jungle laboratories to international distributors. Arrests follow surveillance. One by one, trusted contacts disappear into Thai prisons. Next, shipping coordinators in Singapore. Then money launderers in Hong Kong watching their accounts freeze overnight. The American strategy targets the connective tissue binding Khun Sa's operation together. 1994. The noose tightens dramatically. Thai police execute a coordinated sweep across multiple provinces. 11 of Khun Sa's top lieutenants, men who've managed his logistics for decades, vanish into custody in a single week. His smuggling routes into Thailand seal shut for the first time in 20 years. Product backs up in jungle warehouses with nowhere to go. Inside the Mong Thai army, whispers spread. Officers who once pledged loyalty begin questioning their leader. Some defect to rival Shan factions, publicly accusing Khun Sa of abandoning the independence cause for personal wealth. The freedom fighter mask that protected him for 2 decades starts cracking. Young soldiers see an aging drug lord, not a revolutionary hero. 1995, Khun Sa surveys a shrinking kingdom. The Wa advance from the north, seizing villages that flew his flag for a decade. Thai military barricades block the southern routes his smugglers depend on. DEA agents hunt his remaining brokers across 3 continents. His own body betrays him. Decades of jungle living, chain smoking, and stress have ravaged his health. Diabetes, high blood pressure, partial paralysis creeping through his limbs. The 61-year-old warlord can barely walk without assistance. American intelligence analysts predict imminent collapse. They prepare for what they call the endgame scenario. A final siege of Homong ending with Khun Sa dead in a firefight or dragged out in chains for extradition. Everyone expects a spectacular finish. The aging drug lord surrounded by burning product, going down in a blaze of gunfire like the movies taught them to imagine. They underestimate him one final time. Khun Sa has spent 50 years studying power, how to seize it, how to surrender it without losing everything. While his enemies prepare for war, he opens a secret channel to the generals in Rangoon. What kind of deal does a drug lord make with his oldest enemy? And why does America get nothing? January 5th, 1996. Rangoon, Burma. The Burmese military junta issues a press release that stuns the world. Khun Sa has surrendered. He walked into a Burmese army compound, shook hands with the generals who once sentenced him to death, and negotiated his own retirement. The terms leaked slowly over the following weeks, each detail more cynical than the last. Khun Sa agrees to disband the Mong Thai army, 18,000 soldiers laying down weapons without firing a shot. He officially exits the drug trade and surrenders his territory to government control. In exchange, Burma guarantees absolute protection. He keeps his fortune, hundreds of millions accumulated over 3 decades of trafficking. He keeps his freedom, a villa in Yangon with round-the-clock security. And most importantly, he keeps his life. The junta promises he will never, under any circumstances, face extradition to the United States or any other country. Washington erupts. State Department officials demand immediate handover. They cite the 1990 Brooklyn indictment, 10 counts of heroin trafficking, enough evidence to bury him for multiple lifetimes. They invoke international law, diplomatic pressure, economic leverage. Secretary of State Warren Christopher personally contacts Burmese officials. Rangoon's response arrives cold and final. An extradition treaty between Burma and the United States has never existed. None will be negotiated. After years of American sanctions, criticism of human rights abuses, and support for pro-democracy movements, the junta owes Washington nothing. They view the United States as an adversary, not a partner. Khun Sa chose his sanctuary perfectly, the one jurisdiction on Earth where American legal power cannot reach. The DEA keeps his indictment active. Agents continue pressuring regional governments to freeze his assets. Diplomatic protests arrive in Rangoon annually. None produce results. The most wanted drug trafficker in American history has vanished into a country that considers protecting him a point of national pride. 1997 Yangon transforms rapidly as foreign investment trickles into Burma despite sanctions. Khun Sa reinvents himself one final time. He purchases commercial real estate across the capital during a construction boom. His money funds apartment complexes, office buildings, shopping centers. He operates a bus transportation company with routes spanning the country. A ruby mining concession in Burma's gem-rich Mogok region generates legitimate income to layer over decades of drug profits. The warlord becomes a businessman. The terrorist becomes an investor. When journalists occasionally gain access for interviews, they find a grandfatherly figure in expensive clothes. He describes himself as a humble property developer now, reminisces about his years fighting for Shan independence, speaks warmly of the schools and clinics he built, never mentions the heroin. The transformation is complete. Revolutionary to emperor to retiree, each identity discarded when it stopped serving his purposes. 2007, Khun Sa's health deteriorates steadily. He rarely leaves his compound anymore, spending days with grandchildren and tending a garden of exotic flowers. The man who once commanded 20,000 soldiers and terrorized a superpower now struggles to walk across a room. October 26, 2007, Yangon, Burma. Khun Sa dies in his sleep at 73 years old. Natural causes, family surrounding his bed, fortune intact in bank accounts scattered across Asia. The Burmese government provides a formal cremation with appropriate honors. His ashes rest at Yeway Cemetery in northern Yangon. The DEA closes his file. The indictment expires with his last breath. 20 years of hunting, billions of dollars spent, and the target died peacefully in bed, never spending a single day in American custody. Somewhere in the highlands of Shan State, opium poppies still bloom every spring. The trade never stopped. Only the names changed. The United Wa State Army controls the territory now, producing methamphetamines alongside heroin. The jungle keeps its secrets, and the Golden Triangle keeps producing poison. One man satisfied held a superpower hostage for 30 years, exposed the limits of American power, proved that money, patience, and the right enemies can make anyone untouchable. He won.